Hi, I'm Storm.
And I'm Mike.
And we are from Advanced Group.
And what are we talking about today, Storm?
Today we're discussing a product we have on the website, and here we have the first aid kit. Is this a particular first aid kit that someone should look for any type of job reason?
Good question. So it's good to be aware of what the current regulations are for your industry. So for every industry, it's going to be a little bit different, and you should, if you don't know, if you can't figure it out from the WorkSafe's website, you can always ask WorkSafe. Now, it's something that's very important, probably one of the most important things in a workplace for safety, and everybody's regulated or mandated to have them in their workplace. There could be big penalties if you didn't have them, or if there was an emergency and you didn't have it, or if it wasn't adequately refilled. Also, there are use-by dates on first aid kits, and that's because some of these things need to be sterilised, and if they've gone out of date, then perhaps the sterilisation is no longer within its guaranteed period. So it's important to be aware of these sorts of things and replenish anything that gets used periodically, so that, in the case of an emergency, everything's always there. So now this particular one, you wouldn't be able to see it in this video, but it's called a vehicle low risk kit hard case. So we have different versions of the vehicle kit. This one's a hard case. There's some soft case ones with different colours. Different colours don't mean anything. It's just whatever your preference is for colours. And we'll probably go ahead and figure out what is in here. Now, just to go back to this type of kit, it's a vehicle low risk kit. So obviously, if you're full driving in a remote area, this is not the right kit for you. I would only recommend this if maybe you're a sales rep or something on the road. Then you're not going to need anything that's more hardcore than this. However, it's definitely not for people in remote rural areas that are needing it something that's much more comprehensive. So we'll dig in.
Is this sort of like just a basic one, like even myself could just have one just in case of need? Driving with the kids in the car and just help me out? 100%.
So I highly recommend this for anyone that's just a mum and dad, or in your home, something like that. It's gonna have the bare minimum, so that in the case of something dramatic happening, you can always have at least a bare minimum there. So we'll dig into it. One of the reasons why I like the hard case is sometimes I'm throwing stuff in and out of the vehicle, and it's less likely to get squash and damage things that are inside of it. Not that there's very much that's crushable in here, but that might be the difference between why you would choose a hard case and a soft case, although a hard case could still potentially crack and break, but it's not that likely. So we'll dig in.
When you said there was an expiry date, what in there particularly go off? You could still do some things, couldn't you?
For example, if a bandage is put into this kit that is sterilised, it's been possibly ultra heat treated or something to sterilise any bacteria or anything like that. But because bacteria can grow at an exponential rate, it might be guaranteed to be sterilised for 2 years, for example. But then that sterilisation guarantee is no longer there, because with air or humidity and moisture in the air or something like that, if you're in a humid climate, if the packaging is in some way compromised and some moisture gets in there, the bacteria can potentially spread. You put it onto a wound, and then you could get some sort of serious sort of infection, for example, golden staph or something else, which would be unpleasant, unlikely, but there needs to be some sort of a guarantee that the stuff in here is sterilised.
Yeah,
and especially when you're dealing with an open wound.
Yeah, would they always find the expiry date found on the back?
On the back,
yeah,
100%. Yeah. So let's just open it up. I just will go back to the regulations. There's different regulations for different industries. There's workplace level 1, workplace level 2. There's it's no longer state specific; it's national. It used to be state specific, but those workplace 1 and 2 type levels will change depending if you're in the construction industry, and that's basically how many employees in that area that might need it. And then you should definitely check the regulations because you don't want to just assume that you've got the right kit, especially if you're in the construction industry. It's different regulations. So let's dig in to see what's in here. Do you want to have a look, and if you have any thoughts or questions?
So this is basic first aid instructions.
Yep.
So it's obviously got a pamphlet on what's you got. So this is first aid stuff.
Okay, so now I'm glad that you even looked at this to talk about this. So this is basic first aid instructions. Obviously, not everyone's going to know, or even if you have had training, you might need a refresher on what to do. And in an emergency, if you're not thinking straight, because everyone's a little bit frantic and panicked under the in an emergency, this is a good little recap on whatever training you might have previously had, or if you didn't know anything about it, then there's obviously some things on CPR and what to do in certain instances of an injury.
That's actually really good because I've done my first aid every year, but there's when it comes to it, you just obviously would be in shock, and having something like that to glance over just to give yourself the confidence and remind you. It's a
very valuable thing that you wouldn't want to throw out, and definitely would want to have a look at.
Recap every day.
Yeah. Another thing on resuscitation. Now, this looks like it's a sticker. Just confirm that. Yes, it is a sticker. So if you wanted to, potentially put this, in the cupboard where you might keep this, or somewhere, could stick it on the actual case or something. Just don't put it over the use by date. You can put it wherever you want, or just keep it like that. It's up to you. The CPR stuff is also on this pamphlet, so it's just a supplementary type thing.
So that's got things for other things, doesn't it? Everything.
Yeah, this has got
how to treat you, how to bandage. And
yeah. So the subcategories are bleeding, eye injuries, spinal injuries, bites and stings, burns and scalds, chest pains, and then there's the CPR stuff.
Because the funny thing is, I don't think I've ever had to bandage up anyone or add anything to them. So I would be like, I don't know what steps to take. So it's great that it's in there. Yeah,
100%. What else have we got?
We've got wound dressing.
Yep. Okay, so this is an example of something that's been sterilised. Single use, obviously.
Yeah.
Some little instructions on there. If you are trying to look in here to figure out what to use, you might not even necessarily grab the right thing on the first try. So I wouldn't even worry if you accidentally unpackage the wrong thing. It's important that the person's bleeding gets stopped, obviously. So if this is the wrong bandage for what you're trying to achieve, don't worry, just open up whatever you need to open up to make sure that person is well looked after. I
did open it and I didn't need it. Am I still able to keep it in there?
No. So you would throw it out as soon as this package is open, because it would be no longer sterile. And then, there's always a risk that you use a bandage that isn't sterilised on an open wound that could cause an infection.
Yeah. Is everything always packaged like this?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you might even pull a lot of this stuff out in a panic, and then it's very hard to get it all back in the same spot to get the lid closed. So they do package it so that there's literally no room left in the case. Once you've pulled it all out, you have to put it back exactly the same almost to make sure you can close the lid. Yeah. So this one here.
I haven't seen that before.
Okay, yeah, so some people might be, not even a germaphobe, just, doesn't like the thought of having to do mouth to mouth with another person, which is probably fair enough, even if you're not a germaphobe. But this is a resuscitation shield. Single use, it's just one of in there, so that if you wanted to use it in the case of CPR, then you would possibly feel a little bit less grossed out by giving mouth to mouth to someone that you might not want to give mouth to mouth to.
Yep. And conforming bandage, so that looks like it's more for your hand area or smaller area.
Yeah. So this is a larger bandage. This is a smaller bandage. They've got some dimensions on there, like say 5 centimeters. This one doesn't say at first glance how big it is, but it's got a picture of it.
Yeah,
so you can see, it can go around the leg. This might go around the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And wound wipes, is this like alcohol or something?
Yeah. So sterile alcohol wound wipes.
Yeah. So you'd wipe a scar or scratch or something like that with that first.
Yeah. So people sometimes will have dirt or gravel or some sort of harmful thing that's mixed in with their open wound. So it's important to not just bandage up a dirty, dirt infested or some sort of contaminated sort of wound, and then put a bandage around it because that could fester.
Yeah.
So alcohol wipes, very important. Some people also have problems with getting infections. Like, for example, my dad has some stents in his heart, and they're animal parts that replace the human parts. And if he gets an infection, he could die within hours because it would destroy his heart valves that are non-human.
So he has to be very careful.
He has to be very careful, and wound wipes are important for people like that.
All right, iPads?
Yep.
So when,
not an Apple iPad.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think it looks like that. Obviously, people could get things in their eyes and stuff like that, but what instances do you find people mostly use these?
Yeah, good question. I'm
sure you can damage your eyelid and stuff like that.
I think it would be very rare that you would need this. Some people will sometimes get an injury to the side of their face, and their eye will actually pop out of the socket. So that would be an instance where you might, if you were needing to put or help someone, or they might have put their own eye back in a socket, like if they sneeze or cough, their eye might actually pop out again, or if they just laugh hard. And so I guess that would be important, especially if they've fractured their eye socket, to be able to put some sort of compression with that and a bandage to keep the eye from re-popping out.
I see a lot of people damaging their ears. Do you think that would be a perfect size to put?
You could use this for anything. Yeah. If worse comes to worse, any of these bandages you could mix and match however you like. And the most important thing is to do that first aid treatment.
So this is obviously the tape to stick the bandages on.
Yeah. So it's a sort of tape that's not too aggressive, especially if it's going on your skin as well. It will stick to the skin and it'll also remove without leaving residue. And it's a good multi-use tape that can stick to both the bandage or the skin.
Yeah. Bandages, obviously.
Yep. So the generic term is Band-Aid, but we're not allowed to use the word Band-Aid because it's trademarked by Johnson & Johnson. These are the equivalent. So they call them plastic strips.
Oh.
So every company that makes an equivalent of the Band-Aid will call it something slightly different, so they don't infringe on copyright. So the generic term is Band-Aid, but they've called them premium sheer plastic strips.
Yeah, and that's a 50-pack.
That's a 50-pack. So you'll probably find that most first aid kits will get a lot of Band-Aids pilfered out of them more than anything else in the kit, which is pretty easy to replace if you are making sure that you audit your kit semi-regularly just to replace the Band-Aids if this box gets taken out, or if some of them get taken out of the box. This is probably one of the most used things in a first aid kit.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if these two are the same, but yes, they are. We've got 2 eye wash. What are they? Sodium chloride?
Yep. So it's just a saline solution.
Yep.
Now, single use, they've got a little crack seal on them to be able to open them. And the point of having them like this is it's like a crash pack, or whatever you would want to call it. Once you crack the lid, it's not resealable. You can squeeze the crash pack, and you can actually put a bit of pressure so that if somebody does have some chemicals or something in their eye that needs a little bit of pressure to help clean it out, rather than just using an eyeglass and tipping it and just not really having much pressure, you could potentially, hold the person's eye open, or they could do it to themselves and really squirt it into the eye.
It's quite generous. Would you use like a lot of this?
No.
Just tiny?
So it would be proportional to how much chemicals or whatever is in the eye.
Yeah.
Some people might only use a half at a time or a quarter at a time, just because, if it's a little speck of dust, it might come out within the first quarter of this, and then you just throw the rest away. But you might have 4 goes at it to get that little bit of dust out of someone's eye if that's just that.
Yeah. Triangular bandage. So that's obviously if you've hurt your arm and you need a sling. Perfect for a sling.
Yeah. There'll probably be instructions on how to create a sling from it. So it's fairly self-explanatory, I would think. So someone that's nursing a sore arm.
Yeah. Oh, what's this? Do you want to open it or just leave it in there?
Well, we don't really need to open it.
No.
It's a glove, powderless, because you don't want powder going into an open wound, and it will be sterilised. And so if you are needing to come into contact with someone's blood and you're paranoid, or it's just best practice actually just to always wear one, so that you can't cross-contaminate either anything from you to the person or from them to you. So, yeah. Very important to wear gloves whenever you're working on someone's open wound.
Is this like it is a magnifying?
Yeah, I haven't seen that before.
Is that maybe to help see in like a cut or something if you're trying to find a bit of glass or something, it could help out?
Yeah. There'll be many reasons why you might need it. So, if you can't find your glasses or if you try and pull out a splinter or, there's many reasons why you might need a magnifying glass. I don't need to talk about that too much.
So going off what we just said, this could probably help pull out those things, these tweezers?
Yep.
If you did have a splinter or something.
Yeah, if you've got a splinter or you need tweezers for various reasons, there's some tweezers in there. They're probably not the highest of qualities, but in a situation where you don't have any other solution nearby, they might get you out of a pickle for sure.
Safety pins.
Yeah, for the bandages. Yeah,
bandages.
You could use the tape or the safety pins to tie up your bandage.
Yeah.
So it's a packet of possibly 10-ish. Looks like 5 small and 5 large.
Oh, here we go. Disposable splinter probes.
Yeah.
So what are they?
So a disposable splinter probe, and some of our customers really love these. They're tiny little piece of, I think it's probably plastic with a very sharp metal end, pointed end to them, kind of like a needle for intravenous, applications, except without like a hollow part in the needle. So it's just a very sharpened piece of metal on the end. It's got a little safety cap on it. But once you open this, you pull off the safety cap and you can pull out a splinter. And for the people in the construction industry, these things are gold, because people are sometimes working with hardwood or something, getting splinters very regularly, or someone working with metal where they're getting little shavings stuck in their hands and they're incredibly irritating. So some people will buy these 100 at a time. So you can actually buy these individually on our website. A lot of these things you can buy individually on our website. Some of them will just be in refill kits. Some of them be individual components. But for someone that's got a incredibly annoying splinter that you can't get out with the tweezers because they're sometimes not the best quality, sometimes you need to actually dig into the surface of the skin to actually get the splinter out. So these are actually really good for that sort of thing. And
we've got some spare bags.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you needed to put some dirty bandages or band-aids, sorry, they're not band-aids, they are sheer plastic strips into here. Is that what they're for?
No,
I just guessed all that.
No, I would imagine that these are for anything that's got blood.
Yeah.
That can be safely disposed of. For example, you can never be too careful. Sometimes people might have an infectious some sort of virus or disease or something like that. And out of just pure safety and best practices, you would dispose of anything that's blood soaked or any sort of contamination on it. Dispose of it with these bags. So I'm guessing that's what they're for. I can only imagine that that's the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got some scissors here.
Yep.
Is this just to cut? What would this be for?
So if you needed to cut up any of the bandages, you would definitely be able to use that for cutting up some bandages. There's not really a great range of uses for them. That would be handy in certain small situations, or you could cut the tape. You could cut a bandage. Yeah. So it's not a very wide application use. It'd be very limited because they're probably not the best scissors for anything other than just cutting some very basic things. Getting to the end, probably final point is there is a list on the back of what's in within the case. It does not have the part numbers, unfortunately, for each product. But if you typed in the individual components, you might be able to find some of the products on our website just by using those keywords. It tells you what's in it and the quantity of each thing in that. For example, for the eye wash crash packs, it would say 2. So if you are auditing your first aid kits and you aren't sure what's supposed to be in there, even you could just go through and just check off on the list what's in there.
So if they typed in first aid kits, would a few different kinds pop up?
Yeah, I think we've probably got at least a dozen different first aid kits on the website, including this one. As I said previously, and can't say it seriously enough, you should really be aware of what WorkSafe says you need to have per vehicle, per workplace. If it's a large workplace, like frequently throughout the workplace, so that someone that's getting injured at the other end of the factory can get, treatment fast enough without having to, someone having to go hundreds of meters to the first aid kit. So, just be aware that you should always have somebody responsible for that sort of thing that's keeping up to date with the regulations. Yeah. That's about it.
That's good. I think I need one for my car, to be honest, for my kids.
Yeah.
They hurt themselves all the time.
Yeah. So if you like this video, you want to see more videos, you can like and subscribe the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.